Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network.
You are now on the inside of what I like to call the circle of trust.
We are all connected in the great circle of life.
You know something, Bert? What? I think you and I are going in circles.
It feels like we're going in circles.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Because it's a circle.
Yeah, we heard about the circle. Yes, we're familiar with shapes.
Hi, this is Chuck.
This is Greg.
And this is Dan, and we are Talking in Circles, brought to you by the GeekCast Radio Network, the podcast that's all about gaming, at least for today. I say that because we have a very special guest with us today, Matt Voss from Charm City Gaming. He was gracious enough to come on the podcast and talk about his company, Charm City Gaming, and some of the games they have to offer. So, Matt, I'd first like to thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me here. I'm really, really excited to be here.
First guest. That's
definitely an honor.
Yeah. GeekCast Radio's had a lot of guests, but this is the first Talking in Circles guest, so you get that award. So,
awesome.
Yeah. Can add that to the resume. I know that'll really go far.
Yeah.
But I guess to start things off here, for those that don't know, can you explain what Charm City Gaming is and kind of what brought you into the land of the tabletop gaming?
Sure. So Charm City Games started from an experience I had playing another card game called Nuts. I don't know if you guys have ever played Nuts or are familiar with Nuts, but
Greg is very
I play
familiar
with my nuts all the time, Matt.
Yeah.
That keeps you healthy. But
Yeah.
this game is all about being a squirrel and grabbing nuts and stealing nuts and guarding your own nuts. Tons of double entendre. Great game, a lot of laughs. But we played it. I sat down and I was like, I can do this. I can do something like this. I have a dirtier mind than this. and just for, I don't know how vulgar I can get with you guys.
We go all out.
All right. So basically just for shits and giggles, I was like, well, fuck this. I'm going to make a game called Cockfight. And within that week, I had the first prototype of Cockfight made. It was a 54-card deck, 4-player elimination-style card game with giant roosters in the underground cock ring. So, we have attacks like Cock Block and Cock Punch, and every cock-enabled attack or defense you could think of. And it took off from there. After demoing it to a couple of friends and getting some really positive feedback and taking it outside that circle of people that don't want to insult you, I decided to do a Kickstarter for it. So I set a hard date of April 5th for the Kickstarter, and
I love that it's a hard date.
A
hard date for Cockfight, yes.
Yeah, it was an exciting time.
Did you say arousing? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it was a rousing event, but it was just.
This
a
is shaping up to be the perfect episode for
for me especially. I'm loving where this is going.
But so the Kickstarter was my first goal. The first goal was just to take it to the Kickstarter to say, let me see if I can do this. And I didn't want to. I went on Kickstarter as myself, just as Matt Voss, which was a terrible mistake. But once you set a Kickstarter name, you can't change it once you launch a project. So now every project I make is going to be as Matt Voss, not as Charm City Games.
Oh, wow. It's good. Good thing to know.
Yeah, definitely. That would be one piece of advice. Make sure you set your Kickstarter account up with the name that you want to be known as.
Because that definitely has to hurt with marketing when you try and grow out the company, everything. Having a Kickstarter under your name instead of the name of the company.
Yeah, I really think it does. And there's actually a really big. You guys have heard of the Resistance?
Regarding Kickstarter?
Yeah,
I have.
Huge game. The guy that runs all of those Kickstarters, his Kickstarter account is Travis.
Nice.
That's just Travis. You know what I mean? So even though he does all of these great games, his company is Indie Boards and Cards. And, I think he's ran like 14 incredibly successful Kickstarters. His most recent one, I think, was Dragon Slayer. Every single one is as Travis. Just something I wish I had known beforehand. But
it's almost in a way the more badass that way. In some ways, it's like, I just need my own name, and that's all I need. So.
Yeah, it's definitely something that makes you proud. But again, I just wish I had known that, starting off. So yeah, I made the Kickstarter. Begged and pleaded with family and friends and everyone I had ever met to support it, and I hit my goal within that 30-day period. And 2.5 months later, I shipped out all of my product to the Kickstarter backers.
Wow, that seems like a pretty impressive turnaround there for 2 months to get the product out to everybody.
Yeah, it really is. It's actually something like, I want to say it's like 1% or less of Kickstarter projects deliver early, let alone on time. My big thing was because I'm nobody, I wanted to at least get this into people's hands as soon as I possibly could and not let people down. That was my big thing, was not to fail the people that supported me in this dream,
Yeah.
It's definitely important to get the cock in people's hands.
Yeah,
quickly.
I mean, that's, from when you're like 10 years old, that's your primary goal, is to get that cock in somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
Because they want to play with it as soon as possible.
Right. Everybody wants to play with my cocks. And and I say multiple because, again, there's 4, But yeah, no, it was just, that was a big thing, was not disappointing people that had pledged their money to help me make a bunch of dirty card games.
Yeah, I always found it best in the business world is to promise very little but give a lot at the end. Like promise little but give a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's the whole Scotty principle from Star Trek. I mean,
Yeah.
Make sure you set incredibly low expectations and then deliver really high results.
Well, we're really good at setting low
because
expectations. It's the results we're having trouble with.
But I found out that with I work at a photography studio, and with retouching the photos and everything, like people always expect it super early. So I try and say like, oh, it's a month down the road, but if I get it out in a week, they're really excited to get it that week instead of that month. So
right.
Their expectations are not that great, but when you actually do it, they're so excited for it.
Yeah, they're over the moon because they feel like you went above and beyond what you could do for them. So yeah, so anyway, Cockfight was out there. It's out in the world. It's across the Atlantic. And, yeah, it's awesome. And I've always been into making my own games, and I finally just decided to say, F it, I'm going for it.
That's pretty awesome when you see someone actually go out there and succeed. I'm curious, with creating that own game, did you end up having to do most of the stuff yourself, like creating the card design and the artwork and stuff like that, or how did that all work?
So the artwork, I actually there's first off, there's tons of resources out there, thanks to Google, that I can find. The artwork, I actually used a site called Elance, and I was able to put a proposal out and have people submit various types of art. And I was able to find an artist that their style worked with because I wanted it to be humorous and I wanted it to be cartoony. I didn't want it to be too serious I didn't want to broach the vulgar concept with the cards. I wanted it to be fun and tongue in cheek. And the artist that I found, Nadina Cardillo, is actually from Spain. Very young artist, but she's phenomenal. And her artwork was perfect for Cockfight. So that was the only thing that I outsourced. Everything else, the layout, the graphic design of the cards with the egg and all that jazz, I did all that stuff myself.
Very nice. Very cool. To give a little bit of background, I actually met Matt at the Baltimore Comic-Con, which we talked about way back when. And I got the opportunity to purchase Cockfight myself and had an opportunity to play it. It's a lot of fun. I do really, reason I asked about the artwork, because I do kind of enjoy it, and especially the logo for Cockfight. I don't know, it's very eye-catching and very cool.
Yeah, the logo, the text I did myself, and obviously the background is the Cockfight card artwork. The artwork is phenomenal. Nadina, she did a great job.
Yeah.
How much inspiration came from the Family Guy chicken fights with Peter Griffin?
Actually, that never really came up, but that's exactly what that Cockfight card looks like.
Yeah, I know. It's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah. No, that never came up, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, we started with that, was from the very beginning. We went with that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate into, this is not to but when we, I don't want to say like 10 years ago or so, we bought a game, I think Chuck and I, it was like the Marvel Versus game, a card game, and we didn't really like it that much. So instead I ended up just like going up and like creating our own card game.
Nice.
Which I'm sure is pretty illegal because I used all of the Marvel like images and comic book characters and stuff like that.
But we weren't selling it though.
So you're totally fine. Then it's just art.
Yeah, so because it wasn't like we got that game and it was like we don't really like it because I want to be able to battle these guys, and it ended up not working out that way. So like screw it, I was working at Macy's Stock at the time, so put it all together. This is long before the Kickstarter came together, but I love seeing people who kind of actually go out there and do it themselves and actually kind of make something of it, where we just kind of played it ourselves and didn't tell anyone about it really.
Yeah, but you know what? That kind of stuff. I mean, I think I know because I have my friends. We're all nerds, so in our group, I mean, we've done that. We've made our own games and played them, and you don't tell anybody else about it, but it's just something that you as a group of friends really enjoy and make memories together with.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't played it in a few years, but maybe we'll bring it back. I don't know if you heard of it. The game HeroClix by any chance?
Yes, yeah.
I
worked at a comic store in college when HeroClix first came out. So.
Okay. I never played it for years. I got into it this past summer, and then I got Chuck into it, and Chuck got Greg into it. So it's like this fever that's going on.
I'm still on the fence.
Yeah.
Or Chuck.
I'm still on the fence about it. I'm big into Catan, Cards Against Humanity, Munchkin, Seven Dragons, Ticket to Ride, that kind of stuff. But I'm not quite into HeroClix yet.
Do it. Just do it. Just jump in with both feet, because you know what? Then you have cool stuff to put on a shelf.
That's kind of the point. I'm like, HeroClix is like action
I'm already
figures in
into
a game at the same
Funko
time.
Pop and statues now. Don't get me involved in something else, Matt.
I know. I need a second shelf for my Funko stuff now. It's bad. And you know what? Being at Baltimore Comic Con didn't help.
Yeah. I know Greg got a bunch of Funko stuff at Baltimore Comic Con. And I got a lot of HeroClix stuff, so that was in comics. So it was just... I went in a budget, and I think I spent that budget within the first day. So,
well, that's how you know you had fun.
Yeah, exactly. I do know though, not only Cockfight, but you have other games that are currently in the works. I think both are looking to come out in this fall. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually, one of them is being postponed. Crime Lords is a more European style gameplay where you don't really know who's winning until after the game is over and you've tabulated everything. And it's also a lot of resource management. We have a prototype board and everything, but with all of the effort that I've been putting into RuneCast, it's taken a back seat. RuneCast, I actually first came up with that idea in February as well, right after I came up with Cockfight. Then it was like everything just started to work overtime again. RuneCast is awesome. I think it has a ton of potential, and it's a blast to play. The last few game weeks we've been playing it. It's a 2 to 6 player co-op dice game where you take on the role of a Viking warrior and you're battling through a number of scenarios in mythical Norse battles. So you might be taking on a bunch of Jotuns or, fighting some undead. And who doesn't like to roll a bunch of dice?
I'm a big fan of dice.
Yeah. So the really cool part about... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, are you using the same artist for the artwork for that as you did for Cockfight?
No, I'm not actually. Nadina's art style is very, very unique, and it's very specific. The artist that I got for RuneCast is also from Elance. His company is called Desmond's Creations. He's on Facebook. He's actually based out of Colombia, South America, and it's a team of artists working on the RuneCast art, and it's phenomenal. I don't know if you guys have seen any of it on the Charm City Games Facebook page or on the website, but it's amazing. Yeah. So it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah, it looked like it could be within its own comic book. Just looking at a lot of the art, I remember at Baltimore Comic Con, you had a few like blown up images of it.
I had those 2 giant stand-ups. Yeah.
yeah, very, very eye catching. Yeah, nothing like a badass Viking. So.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, it's a great, like I said, it's a great game. It's got some blind fate mechanics to it, which you're dealt a hand. That's your fate hand. You don't know what's in your hand, and you have to make that choice every turn if you want to draw a card from your fate hand and see what fate has in store for you.
That sounds similar to real life almost.
Yeah.
So it seems like with the games that you have coming out, they all kind of hit different quadrants and different styles. Obviously, Cockfight's more of a card comedic game, and RuneCast, it's real, more obviously serious on that end, but and Crime Lords is a lot different. Was that a conscious decision, making them all different ones, or those are just the ideas that came to you?
Those were really just the ideas that came to me, and I don't want to say Crime Lords came to me. Crime Lords is a joint project with a very close friend of mine.
Okay.
We're designing games that we love to play. It's my gaming interests are all across the map. I love every type of game out there because we've all played some bad games, but I'm not going to be a Euro game snob or an American game snob. I love to play games, and I love to play them with my gaming group, So really, whatever I like is what I'm going to try and try and come up with a concept for. We actually, it's funny, I had a brainstorming session with my same friend that we're doing Crime Lords together, and we just came up with a tile auction Goblins and Gnomes game, which sounds really cool. So we're gonna pursue that after RuneCast.
Oh wow, you're like the nerdist of board gaming.
I hope you're taller than Chris Hardwick and keep your hot girlfriend.
Yes.
So has that been something that you've kind of been a part of like your entire life? It seems like you have a pretty steady background and you're into it a great deal. So is that something you've been into for a while now?
Oh yeah. Like I said, I've always been a nerd, you know.
We can totally relate to that.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, I went through the whole phase when I was younger where you just want to be cool, but I've always been a nerd. I've always collected comic books, and I've always, you know, been into video games and gaming. And I mean, I was one of those people that was up in arms when, you know, D&D 2.5 came out. Like, so it's been forever.
Very nice. Yeah. So I guess if you're in the you work at a comic book store, I guess you have to ask the question, Marvel or DC?
That is like the toughest question. So my favorite hero is Green Lantern, specifically Hal Jordan. Outside of GL and some Justice League stuff, I've always tended to lean more Marvel. And I think just because of the prevalence of crossovers in the Marvel universe, I think there's a little bit more of them. And, you know, every kid, I think, every outcast kid identifies with the X-Men at some point. You know, and every nerd likes Spider-Man at some point. And Marvel was just more accessible to me when I was a kid, it feels like. I feel like they didn't really ever hit the slump that DC, I feel like DC hit for a while in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, and you're in a very friendly crowd because we are all also big Marvel fans. I mean, not that we don't dislike DC, but, you know, I think if we're going to wear...
like a couple characters each that we go into DC for.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I was surprised you didn't say Batman, to be quite honest.
You know, I mean, I feel like you've got to read Frank Miller's Batman, you know, of course, and you've got to read read the runs by the great artists and the great writers on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think with Green Lantern and with Hal Jordan specifically, it's just that he can be such an ass sometimes, and I really like, you know, I really like that.
He's like the Nick Fury of DC, because Nick Fury can be an ass too, but he gets the job. You kind of like, I don't really like that guy, but you know what? He gets his job done, so...
Right.
I understand where he's coming from. But yeah, so I guess the other question beyond Marvel DC... I guess I should bring this question to you because last week we were having a big debate. We had an episode where we were trying to determine if we made a movie franchise Mount Rushmore, what exactly...
Oh, I voted.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We had a debate. It came down to some hard choices, but I was curious, like, if you were going to build that, what would you put on it?
So I went with Indy. I went with Star Wars. I went with Die Hard, and I went with the Marvel's universe with the Avengers.
Very close. Yeah. See, I too was very close to adding Indy. My only worry, of course, was that fourth film, but yeah, it was.
Yeah.
The movie that shall not be named, but still, man, the first three, you know, it's hard to beat.
I mean, come on, like, I can still remember being a kid and watching a guy's heart get ripped out, or watching a Nazi sympathizer's face melt off. You know, like, come on.
Yeah, and then you said Star Wars.
Are we gonna get a Nazi face melter game from you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you got to get to at least one game where you are allowed to kill Nazis, maybe Nazi zombies or something. So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's funny because I feel like, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I think we're all pretty close to same ages, but I feel like Nazis as the bad guys is just kind of going out the window anymore. You know,
you really don't see it anymore. Yeah.
At least the Russians are making a comeback in the villain category. I think with Russia throwing a big fit over there with Putin.
Yeah, and that's awesome because we need a really big bad end. You know, I mean, I want my son to grow up watching, you know, G.I. Joes where the Russians are the bad guys. You know, something where lasers are shot everywhere and nobody gets killed.
If you make a card game with Russians as the bad guys, please make a Vladimir Putin card.
Yeah.
And we can get another Rocky movie where he ends the Cold War again. You know, it just. I mean, we need another one.
Or Top
you know,
Gun.
But yes. Come on. There's got to be some Jonas brother that wants to be the next Top Gun pilot.
Oh God. Well, it's bad enough that Justin Bieber is going to be the voice of Kit for the 80 for the new Knight Rider comeback. That's just
Seriously?
Oh yeah, it's been verified because they hate the world. I don't know who came up with that.
This is Canada's revenge for all of the mocking.
It's for all the bad things we said about Canada. It's just like Justin Bieber is our revenge. He's gonna.
They're usually such a docile people.
Well, I think they just got tired of sending their most talented people over. I mean, come on, Mike Myers,
Jim Carrey,
Pam Anderson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's so talented.
So, we got.
All her talent came from Los Angeles when they put the breast implants in.
I bet you she'd be good at playing Cockfight.
Well, she had experience with a rather large cock.
You don't have like an expansion pack, do you, by any chance?
No.
It's self-expanding.
You should have one that's expansion of puppies versus cocks. Have like a Michael Vick card in there, but then puppies will be like represent like back in WWE when they used to call boobs puppies all the time.
Wow, yeah. I guess too. One thing I should ask. I know you're in the Baltimore area, so are you rooting hard for the Orioles these past days?
Yeah, I mean, like I told you earlier, I have a toddler that's going a little bit nuts at night right now.
Okay.
So as soon as the sun goes down, I try to sleep as much as possible. So I'm just catching up on stuff during the day. But yeah, it's exciting, man. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of people's neighborhoods are like this, but like my neighborhood goes crazy, and I just love it. Like there's a guy like a couple blocks away who just had. Like, he professionally had a giant Orioles logo spray painted into his yard. And it's got to be, like, 25 feet long by, like, 15 feet high. It's awesome. Like
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
Now, is it the cartoon bird or the regular?
It's the cartoon bird.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the real birds are confused. They're, like, flying over.
But it's like, I mean, it's huge. It's like I drove by and I literally stopped my car and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I like that I live in this neighborhood,
Yeah. It's just cool to see because even just watching, I didn't have the opportunity to go to the games, but I know people that did, and just seeing the atmosphere, it's like, wow, it's just kind of it's kind of crazy. And I like the fact that they're playing Kansas City because it's like two teams that definitely deserve to get into this World Series. So not the Yankees, not the Red Sox. Actually, two teams who aren't rooted by douchebags. It's really nice.
Well, I'm a transplant. I've been here for about 8 years now, and I grew up in New Jersey, so everybody was Philly fans.
Oh, okay.
So you want to talk about douchebags rooting for people, but
I can understand. See, I am too a transplant. I guess we must move down around the same time. I moved 2008, summer 2008, from Scranton, PA, where Chuck and Greg still are. So I'm somehow a New York Giants fan because of my dad. So I understand the hatred of Phillies fans.
Yes. Oh man, yeah. Let me tell you, that Fly Eagles Fly just instantly ignites an anger in me that since I don't live in South Jersey anymore has no random targets.
Yeah, I can understand that. And every time I see I love walking by like novelty shops of NFL stuff and seeing mugs of the Eagles and just wanting to put a choking hazard sticker on them.
Well, I mean, and that should be on every Philly team stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very cool. I guess some other question. I know you were talking about earlier that you went through the process of getting Cockfight made through Kickstarter. How was that process like? I've heard a lot about it, but I've never actually spoken with someone before that actually went through it themselves.
Did you feel like just skipping out on handing out all the Kickstarter stuff like most people do?
No. Oh man, that makes me so mad that that's even a thing that people do. All of the resources are out there. It's just like so many other things. Trying to find out where to start it can be so overwhelming. So in the beginning I stuck just with the Kickstarter because Kickstarter has a lot of like, I don't want to call them classes, but that's what they're trying to be, to help you create your project. Tons of information. And I have no background in marketing or anything like that. And one of the biggest screw ups I made was not building up any awareness or base audience for this before I started. And, so I just dove right in and started typing up my story and, creating graphics and stuff like that, and going over and over the Kickstarter like tutorials or colleges or whatever they want to call them. To be honest, it was a pretty shitty looking Kickstarter page, but it did the trick, and it got me funded, and it got 1,000 copies of Cockfight produced, and I think I've sold almost 50% of them at this point.
Oh wow, that's pretty impressive in only a few months.
Yeah, it's been really awesome.
It's got to say something for your idea when you feel that the page isn't very good, yet you still make your goal. I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dan, we met at Comic-Con, and going to Baltimore Comic-Con, because everything I've done so far, I've paid pretty much for out of pocket, with the exception of the production of the book, the cards. I went to Comic-Con with the mentality that if I sold one game, I was going to be happy, and I wound up selling like 50 or 60 copies at Comic-Con.
Oh, nice.
So I was psyched. Here I went into this thinking like, if some person buys it if I sell $15, if I sell one game for $15, I'll be so excited. Or if I get one email, I'll be happy. And it was like Sunday came around and I was like, holy crap, this was awesome. Like this is great. But so the Kickstarter process, it can be a little confusing. It's one of the most intimidating processes, because they break it down into sections. So there's like a basic section where you fill out your title and like a little blurb on your project, like a tweet, and then it comes to the story, and it's just you're met with this page that's just completely blank, and you've got a blinking cursor, and it's like, well, here you go, here's everything, you just fill it up with, and that was the hardest part. And then of course once I got that done, it was like, holy crap, you want a video from me too? Like I don't have a face for video. We have a face for logo because Greg can adjust it and make us look better, and then we have a really great face for radio, so it's perfect. I barely have a voice for radio, but I can at least say I have a face for radio. So, but so the Kickstarter project was just, God, I didn't know whether I was coming or going half the time.
Another cock joke here.
We started, so the whole thing from the idea for the game was in February. Created prototypes and play tested and created more prototypes all the way through March. Launched the Kickstarter April 5th, and then for those 30 days, it's like you're not living or breathing anything else, because here this is your baby, and you take everything incredibly personally. I was not prepared for the people that I would offend.
Oh, jeez.
And while I knew that I might offend some people due to the content, I didn't expect to offend people due to the imagery of claws or eggs or blood. And that was some of the biggest. There was one person that was incredibly vocal about their issues with the game, and their issues with the game were all based on animal cruelty, and that was a crazy time.
Wow, that
you
is.
Have like a warning on there that this is not supporting the abuse of animals or something, and maybe like calm them down or something.
No animals were harmed in the making of Cockfight. Maybe
I actually in the rules I have a thing that's like, look, this game is about fun. I'm not supporting killing animals or anything like that. But it was just, the guy was just vicious, and to the point where he was like threatening legal action and all this other stuff, and this is all within the first 48 hours of launching the project, and so
People need to calm down.
It was a big hit to my ego and a big hit to my just to like, holy crap, am I doing the wrong thing? And I stood up for myself and I said, look, what I'm doing is protected by the First Amendment. It's protected by freedom of speech, and what I've created here is a piece of art. And if you're willing to get so worked up and so offended, then please don't back me. Take your $1 back. And, click somewhere else, because that's, you might see offensive things here. Feel free to move on. But when you start to talk about censorship, then I get all, I just rip. I hate censorship in all of its forms. And I took him to task on it, and then he never said another word. But, it was a rough 30 days, and it was an exciting 30 days, and the ups and downs. Oh my God. You're the first day when all your friends and family come out and pledge, and then you're like, yes. And then, you've got a 10-day plateau, and you're like, I am the worst person in the world. Why does everybody hate me? And then you'd have like a pledge would come in and it'd be like, that's fucking right. I know you want this, And to fund, when I hit that funding goal, man, you want to talk about a fat guy doing backflips. I was psyched. And the thing that I did that I think a lot of people didn't is that, I had the artwork already taken care of before I even launched the Kickstarter. I had my I knew who was going to be producing it. I knew what my timeline was going to be from when I pay them to when they were going to ship it. I knew how long it was going to take to ship. I knew how long it was going to be in customs, because I wanted, like I said before, I was nobody. I wanted people to know that at least this guy delivers on what he says he's going to deliver. So the day that the Kickstarter ended, you have a couple of days. Kickstarter or Amazon Payments will try to charge people that have backed for, I think, a week. And everybody's like, a card might not or might bounce back or whatever, but you've got a week where they'll continue to try. And as soon as the payments were through, I contacted my rep over at Print Ninja, a guy named Alec, who was awesome. And I was like, Alec, here's the money. Here, what do I need to give you? What file types? Whatever. We banged it out over the course of another couple of days, and within 10 days after the Kickstarter ended, production was getting ready to start on the game itself.
Oh, wow.
So, it was, I took all the horror stories and took my lessons from those, because I know there was one guy, I think this year or last year, who went to Kickstarter to fund his webcomic being created into a book, and it was too successful. He didn't know how to deal with the fulfillment issues, and he got to the point where he was basically just like, fuck you guys, if you want your book, it's here. Otherwise, I'm starting a bonfire. And he did. He burned all of the books and videotaped it.
Jeez. Yeah. I've heard stories about that too, or like similar things where the production they can't keep up, and then it is kind of like a double-edged sword in some ways.
It is, and the Kickstarter community is very supportive, because we're like, I'm a member of the community. I backed a bunch of projects, and if you're open with me and you're upfront, I'm going to give you all kinds of leeway. The big one, like Meeple Source right now, they've got they did custom meeples back in March, and their project was hugely successful. They raised like 160 grand, and they were looking for 15, and they've had nothing but issues because their fulfillment wasn't in line with what they were prepared to do. But the entire time, they've been entirely honest, open, pictures of the masses of meeples that they have to sort and by hand and send out. And so here it is 7 months later, the estimated delivery date was August. They're 2 months behind that, and nobody is giving them a hard time because they're honest about it. And I think most of the Kickstarter community is understanding about that we're working together to create something that doesn't exist in the product space yet. And, if I'm coming to you and asking you to fund my dream, and I'm going to give you a part of that back in the form of a retail product, if I run into issues, I should be honest with you and tell you, like, look, customs has held my stuff for the past 6 weeks. This is the issue. I'm working on it. I'm sorry. How can I make this better? I just think that transparency needs to be there.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that, because I think too, people realize, it's an independent product. So as long as they're understanding and people are being honest, they kind of have a sympathy for you already, because they're supporting you, as long as they feel like they get it in the long run, or they have a knowledge of it. It's even with, you think it'd be nice if the bigger companies sometimes shared that same idea of being honest with people and, not treating them people like humans. That's kind of like a,
well, it's a fresh kind of perspective that you're getting from people like you and other Kickstarters that do the same thing. You're open.
Yeah, thank you. And that's true. We've stepped so far away from the mom and pop stores and the mom and pop products in our society that, we reward companies for having human entity status without caring or giving a shit about the people that they're serving.
Yeah. Exactly.
And stuff like Kickstarter and Indiegogo and other crowdfunding sources are a way to kind of move back to that. Because, I couldn't walk into a bank and get funding, through traditional means to say, hey, I want to make a card game about dick jokes. It would never happen.
So that'd be a great...
Just a guy staring at you going, what the hell?
If you videotaped it, it'd probably be a great thing to throw on Kickstarter. And I think you'd get tons of funding.
It's long story short, but I've been involved with partners in the past in an attempt to open a land center like 15 years ago, when they had the potential to be big here in the States, and trying to get across the idea of what we wanted to do. Like, oh, we want to open a space where people pay us to come in and play video games. And then the silence and the blank stares that you met with, like, so it's to walk in and try to get traditional funding to make a game of any type, I think is near impossible, and you'll hear me use the term we a lot when I talk about Charm City Games. And that's the royal we, because I'm including everybody that's backed and everybody that's helped me out, even though it's just me, so I'm just one guy, and it's hard sometimes, but I love the shit out of it, even when it is hard. So
So regarding that, like, do you know when when RuneCast will be going up on Kickstarter? Is that happening anytime soon?
My plan for RuneCast is to launch in November. Whether it's November 1st or November 15th, I'm giving myself a little bit of buffer because I don't want to rush the process. I did rush it the first time around, and that was more because I didn't have the knowledge. So I'm actually sitting in my finished basement right now, which has been kind of converted into a semi-professional studio with a light kit and everything for filming parts of the video. Like the process from the previous one to this one is so different that I now have a video shot script. You know, I have the layout of my different shots for the video, what we're going to be doing, you know, and I have a rig to do playthrough videos and stuff like that. So I have a plan for like between 5 and 10 videos for this project. So I'm giving myself a buffer space to really get the project out there. But November is my target month. I'm actually working with islaythedragon.com to do a preview review of the Kickstarter. So they're going to be getting a prototype copy of RuneCast to play and review. And Father Geek, I'm talking to Father Geek to do the same thing.
Oh, very nice. Cool. And we'll make sure that we'll throw out all the links and whatnot regarding
thank you.
November as well. November 13th is my birthday, so maybe I'll try to like tell my wife for my birthday. Maybe you should support Drum City Gaming.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great birthday present, and you know it would take you less than a year to get it.
Exactly.
Because that's the thing that I want to kind of kill about Kickstarter is I want to be able to give people a good. Because I'm tired of the $80. I'm tired of $80 board games. I'm tired of walking into my local gaming store and seeing a game for $80.
Yeah.
That I know now, having been in the Kickstarter community, that it's a times 5. You're multiplying your production cost by 5 on a Kickstarter, and that's I don't want to do that. You know, I want to make a game that's $35 that you can play with up to 6, up to 5 of your friends. I want to make games that are cheap. I want to make games that are fun, and I want to make them so that you guys can get them in less than a year with Kickstarter.
It's an impressive story so far. I gotta say, first game that you did definitely it deserves your time. So people that are listening, I will throw all the links in the show notes and whatnot. But you can still get Cockfight on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. It's up there with Prime shipping for $14.99. I actually just published the errata rules on the CharmCityGames.com website. Nice.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to put that so you can check it out because it's worth $15. Support it, and it's by far you have a lot of fun. It's a fun game to play. I mean, I will not call myself a board game aficionado by any means. I'm trying to get into it more. Like recently, I played. I've been going into some gaming nights, and we played a little bit of Seven Wonders and Smash Up, and kind of going beyond the normal, Monopoly and and Scrabble and stuff. Slowly but surely, bring my wife along too. But it's been an adventure.
Check out Red Dragon Inn. It's a great game.
I will definitely do that.
And it lends itself to drinking really easily.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
it is the time of year, October. For whatever reason,
yeah.
October is the perfect time for drinking. And really all the time, let's be honest.
I'm drinking right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I meant to, but I forgot my beer in the fridge.
I have a Brooklyn Brown Ale going.
But Matt, was there anything else you wanted? I didn't want to. I know your time was limited because you said you had a cranky toddler, so I didn't want to take too much time out of your hands. So.
Yeah.
None of us knows what that's like, Matt. So
we just have a cranky Greg, which is hard enough to deal with.
You think it's all going to be over when you're done the infant stage, and then the toddler stage comes along, and it's like, holy crap, I am more exhausted, and I am emotionally shattered.
Well, now they can talk back and say no, right?
They're little domestic acts of terrorism. They are. And mine's a boy, and boys are hardwired for weapons.
Nice.
So luckily I've learned to defend myself with a Thor's hammer pretty good against the plastic swords and stuff. But yeah, no, I really don't have anything else to talk about. I mean, I would definitely love to come back later, talk about RuneCast or general geeky stuff. I know that I'm totally going to check my DVR and find out if the Flash recorded it because I really want to see that.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, anyone sticking with Gotham at all? I don't know if anyone's given up on that.
Man.
Yeah,
I think it was Penny Arcade that had a great comic that wrapped up Gotham in that they're beating you over the head with who people are.
Yeah,
and it's a shame because the cast is great, right?
Yeah.
The cinematography is wonderful. Gotham looks dark. It looks gritty. They could have an awesome film noir show on their hands, and they're just shitting all over it.
Yeah, all they need is the guy who plays Penguin, and they'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if Jada Pinkett Smith just watches Batman 66 on a loop, but she just needs to stop. She's not Eartha Kitt. I mean, if she wants to play that role, but she seems so...
Play that role somewhere else.
Exactly. No, but we definitely love to have you back on talking about RuneCast or anything else you're up to. I just don't want to take too much out of your time because I know, kids are needy. They have to be fed and burped and all that stuff. So.
You cannot leave them, they frown on it when you leave them in your car.
They do.
And I mean, they like society.
Almost as much as leaving a dog in a car. Not as much. But
not as much, which is odd. But I remember I jokingly said, "Oh, I'll just run to Wawa. He's asleep," to my wife when he was 6 months old, and that was a mistake, my friends.
I'll write that one down. No. Do not say that. Not a good joke.
I feel like that's something you would do, though, Dan.
I probably would. Be like, oh. It's like, you forgot something today. Oh, the kid. Yeah, about that. I figured he's old enough now. It's 6 months. He's been here. He can handle it himself. But,
time to kick him out of the nest, fend for himself.
But yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and it was great to meet you at Comic-Con, Dan, and it's been a blast.
Yeah. So where can people find all your stuff?
So they can find Cockfight on Amazon. We have a Facebook page. It's just Facebook/Charm City Games.
You should start a Facebook game, though.
I actually have a couple of people that have told me that I should make Cockfight into an app, and I am not a smart man, so that's
why you find somebody to do it for you, design and the artwork and stuff.
Yeah.
You just gotta be careful when people Google it to search for you. What comes up.
Yeah.
That's all SEO. I'm sure somebody out there will be willing to handle that stuff. But you can check out our website at charm-city-games.com. I tweet out stuff at CC Games LLC. So I try to be out there as much as I possibly can.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So
I appreciate you guys really having me on. It's awesome.
Yeah, no problem. And make sure check out his stuff, buy his game, support his Kickstarter. If you're like I said, do it because if you're a geek, you should support other geeks. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you, and I guess we'll see you. We'll probably talk to you sometime soon.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
Every week on the In Session Film Podcast, you can expect to hear reviews on all of the latest movies, big films, small films, and everything in between. We'll also do top 3 segments relating back to our main review. We discuss all of the latest movie news and rumblings, as well as have movie series and other fun segments. And we always talk about the films that we're watching and why you should watch them or not watch them as well. If you want to learn more about the In Session Film Podcast, check us out online at InSessionFilm.com. You can hear our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and so much more. In fact, you can listen to everything we have straight from our website. Again, that is InSessionFilm.com. Download our podcast, check us out, and come join us every week. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey, I'm Gary.
I'm Mike.
I'm Chuck.
And I'm Justin.
Join the four of us every week on the internet's #1 and longest-running G.I. Joe podcast, What's on Joe Mind?
It's Joe news, reviews, and interviews like you've never heard them before, delivered right to your MP3 player.
Our guests include Jason Marsden, Kevin Michael Richardson, and Matt Yang King from G.I. Joe Renegades, Larry Hama, Robert Adkins, and John Barber from IDW Publishing, and many more from around the online Joe community.
Yeah, it's guys talking about Joe. Think of it as Joe Talk meets sports talk. And we make fun of Chuck.
Right, and hey, again?
Come on, Chuck. We're just kidding, kinda.
Sometimes Chuck makes fun of himself.
Right, and okay, seriously, this is just getting ridiculous now.
It's What's on Joe Mind, every week on the Geekcast Radio Network, InsidePulse.com, Stitcher Smart Radio, and iTunes. Download and listen today.
I suppose I still can't say something about Transformers, can I?
Good.
No.
What about sports?
That sounds good.
Yeah, that's all right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our very first interview with Matt Voss from Charm City Gaming. Like I mentioned, all of his stuff will be available on our show page at geekcastradio.com. Do yourself a favor, check it out. It's a lot of good stuff. Like I said, I played Cockfight myself, and it was a lot of fun. It's a good game to kind of play with a bunch of friends, quick and easy. Like she likes it, but well, anyways, there are also tons of different ways to get in contact with us. You can contact us at feedback@geekcastradio.com or at talkingincircles@live.com. That will come directly to us. In addition, we're on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Talking in Circles. Greg, you are also on Twitter, is that correct?
Nope, I'm no longer on Twitter at the Create Forge because I'm lying. I'm actually on Twitter at the Create Forge.
I was like, oh wow, I did not know you you ended up leaving Twitter.
Yes, if you want to see me retweet Funko to win different vinyl figures all the time, I am at the Create Forge.
I use your account to find out what other Funko things are out there, so I appreciate it. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll get that one. But,
so you're that middleman that everybody talks about.
Yes.
And Chuck, you are still not on Twitter, so
I am not.
If you want to follow Chuck on Twitter, just follow at Talking in Circles, because that's our Twitter. So it's in spirit. It's Chuck is in there too. At least his photo is. But
wait, what?
Yes, we have a naked photo of you. It was leaks from your iPhone, Chuck.
Yeah,
we got
like
you
I have an
and
iPhone.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Come
on. There's a big crack in that story. Chuck having an iPhone.
I have like a satellite phone.
There's a lot
like
of crack in that photo. It's actually a picture of Chuck from behind.
On Jennifer Lawrence's body.
With the I have the blue Mystique paint on.
But yes, and probably the best way to get in contact with us is by commenting on the episode posts at geekcastradio.com and at nerdly.co.uk. It's where we get our most interaction from fans and whatnot. But anyways, that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, same podcast feed. But for now,
this has been Chuck.
This has been Greg or Matt Voss from Charm City Gaming. Go check it out.
And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week.
Maybe we'll see you next week.
Dan's having an aneurysm right now.
I really am, man. It is not going well. I don't know what it is.
That's alright. I'm not.
It's just one of those days, you know. It's one of. I do need a couple of those beers we were talking about, because holy crap, my head is my head has just been.
I'm feeling good.
What's sad is that like I have a 6-pack that I got like last week and a half, and I still have like 3 beers. That's how much I drink. So. My wife literally said to me the other day, because I only have one left, it's like, wow, I'm proud of you. You only have 1 beer left. I'm like, am I that pathetic that my wife has to get proud of me that I don't drink that much?
I think I dropped 2 on the floor and they shattered.
Yeah. It's one way. Don't tell her that. She might hear you. And this is Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. Wait, I messed it up. This is what, the 40th episode, and I screwed it up. And this has been, why am I? This has been Chuck. This is with Dan. It's with Dan. Okay. And this has been Dan, and we've been Talking in Circles. We'll see you next week. Jeez.
Maybe we'll see you next week.
Dan's having an